The very first question in your CELPIP speaking exam is going to be this one. Talk about one of your best friends. When you get this question, don't worry about it because this is not marked. It's just a practice question. This one is going to be marked. This is your first question. Your close friend is about to get married but is getting cold feet. Advise her on how she can get rid of her nervousness. You will always get questions like these with these kinds of situations where you have to give advice. This is your first question. Preparation time 30 seconds. That includes reading time, and speaking time 90 seconds. Now here, the worst thing that people do is they make this too formal. This 90% of the times is an informal question. You should be friendly to this person. Remember, it is your friend. So if you say stuff like, which is too formal, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with this, or please let me know or keep me posted on what you are going to do and the necessary steps, all those kinds of things are going to reduce your marks. What you want to do here is be informal. Say words like, hey, what's up? This is awesome. This is really cool. Casual language like how you would use it with your day-to-day friendly situations. Number two, you want to keep it limited to 2 to 3 points, not less, not more. If you do lesser than those, then you're just doing 1 point basically, which is not enough to speak for 90 seconds. And if you do more, what happens is you're going to have a list of points without each point being clearly defined. Now, should you give an example? That's a question I get for this question as well as everything else, and the answer is the same for all questions. Give an example if it's relevant. There is no hard and fast criteria on the examiner marking scheme that compels you to give examples. If it fits, do it. If it doesn't, you don't have to. Now, in this case, your friend is getting married and is getting cold feet. So you can talk about your experience when you got married and how you overcame your anxiety or nervousness. That could be a relevant example here, but if you don't find any relevant examples, you don't have to give them. Just make sure the description is clear. Now we're going to look at the next question, and throughout this video, I'm telling you the most important things that you have to do, you cannot miss, and the ones you should absolutely avoid, because these are the best do's and the worst don'ts that people usually encounter and go through with the real exam. Now, this question is talk about your favorite food, and it's going to be a random situation. Favorite food, best vacation, best friend, and so on. In this case, it gives you some examples, and then at the end, it says, explain what makes this food so delicious. Now, the last sentence is always like this. It is, why is it important? Why was it memorable? Why was the food so delicious? What you got to remember in these prompts is all they're asking you is define the quality of what you are saying. So a lot of people would just talk about the food and sometimes ramble with the details. For example, I went to this restaurant with my friends, and it's not about the food, it's now about the restaurant. Or you could talk about the food and then I also enjoyed this and I had some drinks. What's happening now in this case is you're using just verbs. What's missing is, why in the world was this food so delicious? Once again, the examiner is asking you to show the importance of what you're talking about here. So if I'm talking about my favorite food being calamari, I'm going to talk about how it was in this place where it was just the perfect calamari. It was cooked to perfection. It wasn't raw. It didn't smell fishy. So again, fishy, raw. And also it had just the perfect amount of salt. Once again, defining the qualities of it. It also came with the sauce, which was kind of fishy, but at the same time it's a sauce. So if you want that flavor, you could take some, which added to some pieces of the calamari's flavor enhancement. Now again, defining why the food itself was good. Define the qualities, use adjectives, and define the importance, the value, the emotions with the thing you are saying. If you remember that, you don't even have to read this last sentence. Just remember, emphasize on the importance, qualities, and adjectives in this question. When you go to question number 3, defining what you see in the picture. Here, people run out of time, and people don't prioritize what to say when they have time. This is what you got to think about in the preparation time. So here you have this dog, which is causing menace. He probably bit or killed an old lady. And then you see this person who's probably going to attack the dog. And then this person who is, I don't know if that's a rifle that's already been shot or some weird stick. And then there's other people around having their descriptions. So what's the most important thing? For me, it's definitely the dog, the lady, okay? Then this guy, because he is so in front of you, he has to be mentioned in this picture. And then this guy who's probably using a rifle right here. And these 4 components of the picture, I will ensure I say them and I speak about them in the first few minutes, or sorry, seconds. And if the time is running out, at least I have covered the most important elements of this picture. Now, if I have more time, I can talk about these 2 people here and this guy here. The background details, how it looks like an antique picture, how it's talking about maybe this sign. If I have time to talk about that, I will do that later. But at least I'll get the main things out of the way because I prioritized and I picked these are my 3 to 4 things. So be careful with the organization. Now in the next question, the same picture appears asking you to tell what happens next. Now again, remember for questions 3 and 4 as well, make sure to do adjectives. Not only talk about what actions are happening. The dog has bitten the lady, but also is very vicious looking. That's what I would describe the dog as in part 3. In part 4, when I'm talking about what would happen next is probably this guy is going to come and catch the bullet by mistake because he just looks like he is completely panicking and out of his element right here. This is his expression. So once again, defining expressions, adjectives, and remembering, even for question 4, to prioritize these 3 to 4 people that I will make sure I get in. And if I have extra time, I'm going to talk about other people. Let's move on to question number 5. This is the comparison question. You're given a situation. You're given 2 options. You pick an option. So in this case, let's say I selected the mid-sized RV, but my family wants me to go with the small-sized RV. So let's say this is the situation we're being faced with. I'm going to have a 60-second preparation time, and this is what I gotta utilize really well. Here you have to think how you're going to connect all the points on the left and on the right. Left is your option. Right is the option you're going to speak against. So let's do a little math here. This is $75,000, your option. This is $30,000. You could simply say, my option I understand is $45,000 more. $45,000 extra that we have to pay. That's it. You don't have to then say 75, 30. It's a smaller sentence. Similarly, your option can sleep only 3 people. So you're talking to your family. You can say, Mom and Dad, I understand it's only going to sleep 3 people. Well, your option obviously has the same sleeping capacity, but even outdoors. However, we need a kitchen and stove because we're going to be cooking in the RV. There's no restaurants, which is why the better mileage thing really doesn't matter, especially if we have reserve fuel. So you see how we are preparing right now, connecting all the points, figuring out the sentences where we could compress all this information, because you got to get all this information out when you start speaking, both sides, your option and the other option. So if you effectively prepare, you will be able to do it. And that's why you are given a long preparation time here, 60 seconds. Something like this is very simple. You have a portable toilet, and here you don't have any toilet. This is simple, 1 sentence. Also, my option has a portable toilet, which your option doesn't. Your option also doesn't include a kitchen, which is worse. That's it. So we are strategizing and prioritizing and planning. And if you have good preparation, you'll have a tremendous time in speaking. Try your best to get all the points out of the way in the first few seconds. In the remaining seconds, that's bonus. If you can add more points, add more expressions, better. Now, this is your next question, question number 6. Your boss has been rude to you and your colleagues lately, and someone must say something to either the boss or the employees. So you could talk to your boss and ask him to change his attitude, or you could convince your colleagues to simply put up with the boss to avoid any troubles. Do what you would normally do in a real life situation. So I, for example, would be much more comfortable talking to just one boss instead of addressing many people as colleagues and having to do a public speaking session in front of them. With my boss, I could talk one-on-one. I know I'm more comfortable that way, so I'm going to select the option that I'm okay saying. That's step 1. Step 2, and this is the step that everybody almost misses. This is to remember using your emotional connection, sensitivity. These have marks in this question specifically. Your tone and how you address and take care of your emotional intelligence is very important. So in this case, there are 2 places always in question number 6, the start and towards the end, the second last part where you have to insert emotions. For example, once you start off here, you go, hey boss, or take the name, hey Harry, how are you? I hope you're having a good day. Now here is where you insert the emotion. You address it knowing your situation and how you should now defend these people. You're going to come from a very humble place. You're going to go with something like, I understand you might not like this conversation, but it is something I am forced to address. Now that's a very humble start. You're an employee, you got to be respectful to the boss in this case, and that's how you would bring this up and then go with the topic. Now you explain, employees feel that way, we got to fix this. At the end, before you finish off with the greeting, you got to do another emotional touch. In this case, I'm going to go with, now I apologize, I know this is not my place, I'm not the manager of the store, however, I do represent one of the employees, I am a part of their team, and as such, I felt it was important to let you know our side, and I'm sure you would understand how we feel. So again, here we are relating to the employees. We're kind of apologizing. Look, I know you might not like this, but you have to hear it. I hope you understand. And again, relating to that person emotionally. Missing emotions here is equivalent to missing marks. So remember that key lesson for speaking part 6. Let's jump on to speaking part 7. This is a debate question, usually giving you a technical question and asking you which side do you stand on. Road construction workers should work 24/7 to avoid disrupting traffic for several days. What is your opinion? First mistake people make is they say, well, both things are good, and here are my options or debate choices for both sides. This is a huge mistake. Always pick one side. That is the rule here for speaking part 7. In CELPIP speaking, you have to pick one side. At the start, clearly state your opinion. In my opinion, road construction workers should definitely be working around the clock instead of just on a shift basis. State that, now give 2 to 3 points. Once again, it's a 90-second question. You want to give 2 to 3 points and define them with good quality. Thirdly, you have to be a little passionate here. You have to have a little bit of that debate tone. Now, it's very easy to do that. And how you do this for your tone marks is by, number 1, asking questions. For example, I'm explaining this point, how road construction workers should definitely work around the clock. Why wouldn't they? Or why would someone think this is not a good idea? Or why wouldn't governments do this when they know it's going to help with the productivity of all the drivers? Just asking a question like this in the middle at least once or twice during your 90 seconds shows that passion. Next, use adverbs. Things like definitely should happen. It is absolutely mandatory. It is highly crucial. That again adds passion to whatever you're saying. And lastly, have a little bit of a higher volume, like you really want this to be done. You really want someone to listen to your opinion. Using these strategies, you will be more passionate and have a good debating tone, which is important for this question. Let's jump to this question. This is a picture question asking you this prompt. You were supposed to meet your friend outside a museum. You can see the following view from where you are standing outside the museum. Phone your friend and describe what you see so she can figure out your exact location. Provide a full description of the picture. Now, the biggest mistake people make here is doing this answer like answer number 3, which is also the picture question. So people go here and talk about the picture. I can see this, and here this is this, and here there's the sign. But you always have to pay attention to the prompt in the question, and this prompt is different with every question. In this case, understand the prompt and try to immerse yourself in the situation. Feel literally that you're standing here and your friend is waiting for you, and you have to describe what you can see. If I think on those terms, along those lines, I'm going to talk about these things in front of me in this manner. I'm going to say there are some cartoons standing on cards just on top of grass and stones. That's the kind of ugly landscaping I can see in front of me. And again, I'm using words like ugly or a little giggle there because I'm talking to a friend. It's friendly conversation. I'm also going to talk about how everything is from my angle, how I see it. So right next to them, towards the right, there are 2 huge trees. I think they're called palm trees or coconut trees. I'm not a tree expert, but that's what I think. They are pretty huge though. Again, having the little humor because it is friendly, having that tone, and again, from my angle, it's towards my right. Now, a mistake people make here is using words like foreground and background. We do that with question number 3, right? We all do that, and that's okay. But here, you would never phone a friend and ever say on my foreground and background. So I'm talking in casual terms, on my right, on my left. Plus, I can see these 2 poles, which are relatively fancy. They're of red color with some signages on them. But I don't see any person inside. It's just some creepy cardboard people made of cartoons that are staring at me, and it looks very creepy. So once again, just explaining things how I see it and from my angle. That would fit this picture and this prompt. And at the end, remember, you also got to finish with a conclusion that reflects the situation. Now, let's say I was talking to Bob, assuming. So, Bob, I'm really confused. I don't know where to go from here. Can you help me out? That's how I would finish, based on the prompt. So make sure to customize your answer and your tone and your content based on the prompt in speaking part 7. And that's all you got to do. Now, if you want more detailed guidelines, apart from this short video, we have hours and hours of content in our CELPIP 15-hour course that you can check out in the description, as well as several valuable links to our playlists, our vocab lists, everything in the description. So do check it out if you want to prepare really well for your CELPIP exam. Until next time, take care.